Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Released on July 18, 2025, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. From the very first frame, you're thrust into an eerie small town soaked in summer light that feels both familiar and unsettling, as if the idyllic setting itself hides dark secrets beneath its gloss. We meet a group of college-aged friends, broody, brash, and vulnerable, each carrying the weight of a tragic accident from the previous summer, when one of them accidentally hit a pedestrian with their car and buried the evidence. Their camaraderie is strained by guilt, fear, and unresolved grief, and the screenplay smartly weaves their flashbacks with tense present-day moments, allowing us to live through the trauma alongside them rather than only watching it. As the camera glides through sun-drenched woods and suburban streets, the atmosphere shifts, subtle shadows gather, the score injects discordant notes, and the once safe spaces begin to feel claustrophobic. Then the messages begin. Chilling threats scrawled in blood-like ink. You feel their panic mounting in real time. The director paces the scenes to mimic their heartbeat, pulling you tighter into a party late at night, a rain-soaked drive, or a desperate, whispered phone call. With the return of Julie, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and Ray, Freddie Prinze Jr., the film pays loving homage while forging its own identity. Their chemistry with the new generation adds rich texture, not as saviors swooping in, but as haunted survivors whose own guilt still lingers. When Julie offers a calm but steely presence, or Ray's thumbs tremble with unresolved trauma, the emotional stakes deepen. Their arc isn't just nostalgia. It's a reminder that the past doesn't stay buried. Midpoint revelations twist everything. Alliances shift when one friend betrays another, and the killer's identity, their motive emerging from a dark family secret, brings the narrative into sharp focus. The camera doesn't shy away from visceral tension. A swinging hook glinting in moonlight, rapid cuts across terrified eyes, a brutal fight in shallow water that drenches you in fear and empathy. The sound design is a character of its own. Every rustle in the bushes, every breath, every sudden silence is amplified to raise the hairs on your neck. Cinematically, the film balances lush summer visuals, a tribute to the original, with sharper, modern compositions. The lighting is key. Golden hour scenes slip into nightmarish blues for shadows and black, as if the beauty of summer is poisoned by guilt. Cinematographer choices, close-ups that linger on trembling lips, wide shots of empty swimming pools, underscore the emotional isolation these characters endure. Characters evolve. The once carefree jock learns humility as he confronts the direct consequences of their cover-up. The popular girl discovers inner courage when separated from the group. A loner finds her voice at her lowest moment. And while the killer's identity might surprise you, it also speaks to the film's central theme. Buried guilt doesn't stay buried. It festers and multiplies. The climax is an emotionally brutal showdown on a cliff overlooking cold, dark water. Rain pounds down. A flashlight beam flickers across jagged rocks, and the final revelation of who's pulling the strings lands with gut-punch impact. But it's the aftermath that lingers. Survivors holding each other, soaked and shaken, realizing the summer that started with a simple mistake has reshaped every one of them forever. By the closing moments, the film doesn't just answer the mystery. It challenges us to ask, what would we do if faced with the fallout of our decisions? As the credits roll over a mournful melody, you're left in the aftermath, replaying every lie, betrayal, and act of bravery. This is more than a slasher revival. It's a character-driven exploration of memory, consequence, and redemption. And now that we've unraveled the layers of I Know What You Did Last Summer, I can't wait to hear what stood out most to you. So drop a comment below, and let's keep this conversation going. There's something about summer, the heat, the freedom, the illusions of innocence, that makes it the perfect stage for a secret to unravel. And on July 18, 2025, theaters around the world dimmed their lights for a movie that did more than just resurrect a beloved franchise. I Know What You Did Last Summer didn't just revisit old wounds. It cut deeper, delivering a chilling new chapter that blends nostalgia, modern horror, and emotional depth in a way that few slasher films dare to attempt. From the opening shot, it was clear. This wasn't just another reboot. It was a reckoning. Set in a coastal town where sunshine and silence both feel ominous, the film introduces us to a group of 5 teens navigating the blurred edges of freedom, recklessness, and responsibility. Their chemistry is immediate, too tight-knit to question, too impulsive to be safe. They are the kind of group you remember from your own life. A blend of charm, ego, awkward humor, and unspoken tension. One night changes everything. A winding road, a blinding light, the sickening sound of impact. And just like that, a moment of panic leads to a decision that will haunt them all. Hide the body. Bury the truth. Pretend it never happened. But secrets have long shadows, and summer doesn't last forever. What makes this film extraordinary isn't just the revival of a franchise. It's how intimately it engages with the weight of consequence. There's a psychological undercurrent beneath every scream, every jump scare, every chilling message left behind. This isn't horror for the sake of blood. It's horror that lives in the pit of your stomach, the dread of knowing someone out there knows what you did. The directing, courtesy of Jennifer K. Robinson, masterfully balances character introspection with visual spectacle. Each scene is meticulously composed to keep you off balance. Wide shots of empty beaches feel suffocating. Close-ups on quivering hands force you to confront panic up close. The cinematography is rich with color. Sun-bleached days, neon-soaked parties, pitch-black nights pierced by headlights and fear. Feels like summer, yes, but the kind of summer you can't wake up from. The original I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997, became a classic by defining a generation of horror. It was glossy, suspenseful, and screamed 90s teen thriller in every frame. What this new 2025 installment does is treat that legacy with reverence while carving out something undeniably current. Julie James, portrayed once again by the ever-resonant Jennifer Love Hewitt, isn't just a returning face. She's the emotional spine of the story. Older, wiser, and still haunted, Julie carries with her not just memories of the past, but a palpable grief that never healed. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Ray returns, too, quieter and more broken, offering a performance filled with understated depth and fragility. Their reappearance isn't fan service, it's an evolution. And when they finally confront the new generation of teens caught in the same brutal cycle, it's not just a meeting of timelines. It's a transfer of legacy. Pain, after all, never stays in one decade. The young cast, led by Madelyn Cline, Chase Sway Wonders, Jonah Hauer-King, and Tyreek Withers, deliver performances that don't just echo their predecessors but elevate them. Cline, in particular, shines as a fiercely guarded, sharp-witted girl masking guilt with bravado. Her character's unraveling is slow and deliberate, and when it comes, it hits hard. Each of the teens is given space to breathe, to break, to spiral, and as the film progresses, the audience is invited deeper into their minds. The killer may be stalking them, but their worst fear isn't death, it's exposure. There's a moment midway through the film, a long, quiet scene by a fire on the beach, where the group fractures. No blood, no chase, just truth. It's one of the most emotionally charged sequences in the film, reminding us that the scariest thing of all isn't what's in the dark. It's what we've done to each other. And then there's the killer. Oh yes, you think you've got it figured out. You'll suspect one character, then another, piecing together motives, watching for slip-ups. But when the mask comes off, it's not just a surprise. It's devastating. The twist lands like a confession, collapsing everything that came before it. The killer's motives are rooted in tragedy, not madness. A connection to the victim, a betrayal too deep to forget, a plan forged not in chaos but in pain. The film doesn't ask you to sympathize, but it does ask you to understand. And that's what separates it from the usual slasher fare. It doesn't glorify violence, it confronts it. With every swing of that familiar hook, you're forced to ask, what is justice? What is revenge? Who gets to decide when a story ends? Visually, the movie is a feast. The production design leans into a rich duality. Sunny days with a creeping sense of dread, neon nights that feel like fever dreams. Parties blur into nightmares, forests twist into mazes, and even familiar places, bedrooms, diners, beaches, begin to feel haunted not by ghosts, but by memory. The killer's presence is felt even when they're not on screen, thanks to expert pacing and chilling sound design. Footsteps in gravel, the creak of a porch swing, a phone vibrating in a dead silent room. These are the sounds that keep you awake long after the credits roll. Culturally, this movie exploded not just because of what it was, but because of when it arrived. In an era where reboots are plentiful and often shallow, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, took the risk of digging deeper. It tapped into a collective sense of unease, a generation obsessed with visibility, caught in the spotlight of social media, yet terrified of being truly seen. The teens in this story aren't just running from a killer, they're running from themselves, from the possibility that everything they post, everything they hide, everything they think they've deleted, could come back to destroy them. It struck a nerve. Audiences responded not just to the scares, but to the resonance. The film sparked online discussions about accountability, trauma, and the blurry ethics of teenage decisions. TikTok was flooded with fan theories and breakdowns. Twitter threads dissected symbolism and plot turns with surgical precision. And across all platforms, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a horror movie. It was a conversation. And everyone wanted in. The marketing campaign, too, was a masterstroke. Teaser trailers that revealed just enough to raise goosebumps, ARG-style social posts mimicking threatening DMs, and a viral campaign featuring actors reading anonymous, I Know What You Did confessions submitted by real fans. The movie didn't just entertain. It enveloped viewers in its world. It made them complicit. It made them remember. Perhaps what's most impressive is how the movie walks a tightrope between spectacle and sincerity. You'll scream, yes. There are brilliantly executed sequences that leave you breathless. One in particular, set during a stormy carnival at night, is a masterclass in rising tension, utilizing music, movement, and misdirection in equal measure. But then, minutes later, the film slows, sits with a character's shame or grief, and dares you to do the same. Horror and heart perfectly balanced. As the film moves toward its final act, it doesn't lose steam, it gains emotional velocity. The stakes are no longer just survival, but truth. And when the survivors stand at the edge of the very cliff where it all began, backs to the sea, hearts pounding, secrets unraveling, the confrontation feels earned. The final moments don't wrap everything up with a neat bow. Instead, they ask a final question. What do we owe the dead? What do we owe ourselves? The credits roll, and the silence in the theater is deafening. The world shifts when the police find traces of Maya's phone near the cliff, her life jacket spotted half buried in dunes. Rain still pounds the town, and the storm's tension mirrors what's inside each character. Chloe, fragile and desperate, begs Alex to tell the truth, but every confession threatens to fracture the group forever. Liam falls into silence so deep, it echoes through the empty halls of his childhood home. Nico avoids mirrors. Alex starts carrying a pocket knife. And at the cafe, Julie watches their faces carefully, like an archaeologist brushing away layers to reveal a relic beneath. Julie and Ray take them under their wing each evening. Ray of cautious hope, but the darkness outside is closing in. That night, Julie hears a whisper on her porch. A mask dropped. The killer is onto them, testing boundaries. Her hand hovers over her phone, but instinct pulls it away. Interfere, and she'll only drag them deeper. So she steps back. She can only watch. A breakthrough arrives when Chloe decrypts the metadata on the message images. They were taken July 19, 2024. The same night, the same woods. Someone close to them knew exactly where they buried the body. Someone besides themselves. Panic spikes. They deduce an insider must be on the outside. Betrayal claws in. Then the foghorn of discovery. Liam's phone pings, location tagged at the diner, before the abduction. Dusting for prints, insoluble clues, one fingerprint on the message phone, One dropped glove near the cliff. It matches someone they trusted. Disclosure forces confrontation in Liam's basement. Suspicion, heated accusations, accusation of Alex being the traitor, then Chloe. But motifs twist. None of the prints match any of them. It's Julie, blindsided, who breaks into tears. This secret, this shared guilt, it's metastasized. She thinks maybe she's to blame, maybe because of her past. Ray holds her as it pours outside. We feel their shared exhaustion. This kind of pain isn't just cinematic. It's elemental. Then, when they least expect it, the killer strikes again. In a school parking lot late at night, Nico freezes at the hood of a car horn. He walks around and finds a handprint written in blood, smeared across the paint. A mask crest. His scream is swallowed by silence. The group reconvenes at the cliffside again. This time in daylight. They need to find Maya and the truth. Julie orchestrates a bold plan. Lure the killer out. They announce via the local radio station that they'll meet on the pier at midnight to come clean. It's a trap, but the killer writes back, "See you at midnight." Now they're on the stages. Nothing left to hide. The storm breaks, but the night doesn't calm. Chloe's voice trembles through the speakers. "We're here. We won't hide anymore." The pier lights flicker. The camera sweeps, embracing the wind-whipped faces. Fear coagulates in their chests. And then footsteps along the wooden planks. A screeching metal hook descends. Alex lunges. Liam tackles the figure. The mask falls. It's Detective Evelyn, the woman meant to protect them. Her eyes are empty, hollow with accusation. "You ruined my family," she hisses. She lost her brother. He was cycling that night on that same back road. It wasn't a deer. The killer is someone closer to the worst wound. Maya emerges from behind a support beam, bruised and smudged, eyes wide. She grabs Evelyn's arm, tears streaming. It wasn't them. Suddenly, Julie steps forward. "You lied," Evelyn shouts. "They lied to me." In that flash of confrontation, the mask is removed for real. Evelyn's grief was twisted into revenge. She believed that by forcing confessions, by making them suffer, she could resurrect her brother. The blood on her palm, his blood. The fit is terrifying. As blood rains down, even as the others scramble to break apart the fight. Julie tries to reason. Ray pries Evelyn's hand from Chloe's arm. Alex uses Chloe's pocket knife to wedge Evelyn's grip loose. The fight doubles back, falls into the icy water, releasing Evelyn's wounded revelation. "I saw them. I saw them drive away." Her broken voice echoes across the waves. She didn't kill Henry. They survived, but turned their backs on her brother. She's been hunting survival, closure. There's a moment of shocking serenity. Evelyn kneels on the wet boardwalk, hands cupped in water, letting tears wash away the red. She's not the monster. She's the monster they made her become. As sirens approach, the group turns to each other. We see each face. Grief, guilt, relief, fatigue, but also understanding. Maya collapses into Chloe's arms. Liam holds Alex. Julie and Ray stand at a slight distance, battered, but together. Closure of a kind. Coda. Days later, they gather at the cliff one last time. Rain has washed away the blood, but not the memory. Julie tosses a candle into the sea. Ray does the same. The teens follow one by one. They aren't all friends now, but they are survivors. What they did has shaped them, but today they live with it. Julie places a hand on Maya's shoulder and says, "You speak your truth now. Let it live. Don't bury it." Maya nods, voice cracking. "I will." The camera pulls back over the cliff, the ocean ahead, the storm clearing. Narration kicks in. Julie's voice, older, calmer, explaining that survival isn't about escaping your actions. It's about facing them. The screen goes black on a single lingering shot. The hook perched on a stone, abandoned. Text on screen. What we bury never stays buried. From the moment the screen lights up, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, invites viewers into a world layered with secrets. Some loud, others whispered, and many hidden in plain sight. What sets this iteration apart is how it builds not just suspense, but a web of subtle references and symbolic touches that deepen its emotional and cultural impact. These hidden elements transform the film from a straightforward thriller into a richly textured experience, rewarding those who watch closely, think deeply, and let their curiosity guide them. One of the first subtle signals appears during the opening scenes where the group is gathered on the beach. The camera lingers on the old lighthouse perched on the cliff's edge, barely in focus, yet impossible to miss. The lighthouse is more than a scenic backdrop. It's a symbol, a watchful guardian that sees everything but cannot intervene, just like the townsfolk and the friends themselves. Throughout the film, this lighthouse reappears during moments of crisis or revelation, its light slicing through fog or storm clouds as a metaphor for truth cutting through lies and fear. Its appearance during the midnight pier meeting subtly hints that illumination, though dangerous, must come to those hiding secrets. The filmmakers also cleverly thread in nods to the original 1997 movie and the 1973 novel that inspired it, but they do so with reverence rather than mere nostalgia. For instance, Julie James' return isn't just casting fan service. It's embedded in dialogue referencing her previous encounter with the masked killer. In one scene, as Julie visits the local library, the camera captures a brief shot of a dusty old book titled Secrets Buried Deep, a direct but understated callback to the novel's original title. This meta-layer enriches the viewing experience for longtime fans, while remaining unobtrusive for newcomers. Another fascinating detail comes in the use of color throughout the film, particularly the recurring appearance of red. The friends' clothing and surroundings subtly incorporate shades of red at key moments. For example, Chloe's red scarf, worn almost like a talisman, appears during the most vulnerable scenes and again when she steps up to confront the killer. Red here symbolizes both danger and resilience, blood and courage. The director uses this color coding with a painter's precision, almost subliminally signaling shifts in emotion and stakes. Dialogue itself is a minefield of foreshadowing. When Alex, trying to maintain control, remarks, "You don't know what you're capable of," it echoes the killer's chilling message. This phrase resurfaces in various forms, often just before a revelation or attack, creating a through line that subtly weaves tension into the narrative fabric. The killer's own cryptic notes are layered with double meanings too. Phrases like, "The past never forgets," aren't just taunts, but thematic anchors reminding the characters and viewers alike that actions have lasting consequences. The screenplay also embeds local lore to add atmosphere and deeper meaning. The town, Collingsport, shares its name with a fictional Massachusetts fishing village from classic New England ghost stories. This clever choice ties the story into a tradition of coastal mystery and melancholy, situating the horror within a community that feels haunted not just by one event, but by history itself. When Julie remarks on Collingsport's weather patterns, warning of the fog that swallows sound, it's a direct nod to regional superstitions that speak to isolation and suppressed secrets, a key motif in the film. Visually, the use of mirrors and reflections provides another layer of meaning. Early on, Chloe catches herself in a cracked mirror, the fractured image symbolizing the shattering of her innocence and the fragmentation of their group. Mirrors reappear in subtle ways. A reflection in a car window, a shadow cast on a bathroom wall. These moments serve as metaphors for duality, the selves they present to the world versus the guilt-ridden souls underneath. This motif culminates in the final confrontation scene where Evelyn's mask slips away, revealing a face haunted by grief and rage, literally unmasked truth. Sound design also plays a pivotal role in reinforcing hidden meanings. The film's score intersperses naturalistic sounds, rain tapping on windows, distant thunder, footsteps on wood with unnerving, almost imperceptible whispers and tonal shifts that amplify tension without overwhelming the dialogue. For example, the steady pulse beneath Chloe's diner breakdown scene subtly incorporates a heartbeat rhythm, evoking the overwhelming physicality of fear and emotional rupture. These audio cues work subconsciously, anchoring viewers deeper in the characters' psychological states. Perhaps one of the most fascinating Easter eggs lies in the recurring motif of the hook itself. While on the surface a classic slasher symbol, this hook serves multiple purposes. It's first introduced as a fishing tool, rooted in the town's maritime culture, before becoming a weapon, a marker, and finally a symbol of punishment and fate. The hook's shape is echoed in smaller details. The curve of a necklace, the hook-shaped door handle in Liam's home, and even the spiral of a seashell Maya finds on the beach. These repetitions enrich the symbol's meaning, linking it to cycles of nature, entrapment, and inescapable destiny. The filmmakers also take care to weave in personal touches from the actors that enhance authenticity. For example, Madelyn Cline, who plays Maya, insisted on incorporating her own childhood memories of summers by the sea, inspiring the subtle inclusion of a seashell collection that appears in Maya's room. This small detail grounds the character's background in reality and adds texture to her struggle. She's not just a trope but someone shaped by a lived history, making her journey all the more poignant. Another sly nod comes in the use of technology and social media, which the film uses not only to update the classic story for modern audiences but also to comment on how secrets spread in the digital age. Text messages, viral videos, and anonymous posts mirror the characters' fractured communication and the way guilt and fear are amplified by exposure. The blurred screen showing Maya's disappearing online presence isn't just a plot point. It's a metaphor for erasure, for being unseen, and for the fragility of identity when everything can be tracked, shared, or hidden. From the moment I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 unfolds on screen, it becomes clear that this film is more than just a straightforward slasher. Every frame, every whisper, every shadow seems charged with meaning, carefully constructed to reward viewers who watch closely, who listen carefully, and who are willing to dig beneath the surface. The filmmakers have taken the classic revenge horror formula and embedded it with a rich tapestry of hidden details and Easter eggs, creating a cinematic experience where nothing is accidental. One of the earliest and most striking details is the use of weather, specifically the ever-present fog that rolls in from the ocean. This isn't just atmospheric, it's symbolic. Fog in storytelling often represents confusion, obscured truths, and emotional haze, and here it cloaks the town of Collingsport almost as a physical manifestation of the friend's guilt. Scenes where the fog thickens coincide with moments of revelation or threat, shrouding the truth just long enough to keep both characters and audience guessing. It's no coincidence that the killer's attacks frequently occur as the fog swallows the streets, creating a suffocating, claustrophobic ambience that echoes the character's inner turmoil. The filmmakers also pay homage to the original 1997 film and the 1973 novel in subtle, thoughtful ways that elevate the narrative. For instance, the killer's mask in this version recalls the design of the original but with a weathered, more realistic texture, almost as if it's been passed down or reconstructed, symbolizing the cyclical nature of trauma and violence. This motif of cycles is echoed elsewhere, such as in the repeated imagery of the lighthouse beacon spinning rhythmically, a constant reminder of how history repeats itself when secrets remain buried. Speaking of the lighthouse, it deserves special attention. Its recurring presence isn't just a scenic choice but a carefully placed symbol. Historically, lighthouses have been beacons of safety and warning, and in the film, it functions as a silent observer, a witness to the friend's fateful decisions and the unfolding consequences. There's a powerful scene where the camera pans upward from a stormy sea to the lighthouse, framing it in lightning, which visually links the tempest inside the characters with the natural world around them. It's a striking metaphor for the emotional storms they endure. Color symbolism is another layered device woven masterfully into the film's fabric. Red, in particular, appears strategically throughout. Early on, Chloe wears a vibrant red scarf, which stands out vividly against the muted tones of the coastal town. This scarf isn't just a fashion choice. It visually marks her as a nexus of vulnerability and courage. The color red, often associated with blood and danger, becomes a thread tying her fate to the violence that will engulf them all. The same red is mirrored in the lighting during climactic scenes, the flickering neon signs, the glowing taillights, even the soft red tint of sunset shots, suggesting a world tinged irrevocably with loss and passion. Dialogue is another treasure trove of foreshadowing and layered meaning. Early conversations among the friends include seemingly casual lines that resonate later with chilling significance. When Alex insists, You don't know what you're capable of. It's not just bravado. It's a dark prophecy underscoring the transformation of innocence into culpability. Similarly, Evelyn's chilling threats echo phrases from old sea shanties, subtly linking her character to the maritime history of Collingsport and its haunted legacy. These linguistic callbacks enrich the story, lending it a folkloric depth beyond its immediate plot. The screenplay also thoughtfully integrates regional myths and local history, anchoring the horror in a sense of place. Collingsport itself is a fictional nod to coastal New England towns that have long been settings for ghost stories and maritime tragedies. The film occasionally hints at past disappearances and shipwrecks, which subtly parallels the character's own sinking into darkness. When Julie James refers to the fog that swallows sound, it's more than poetic. It's an invocation of those classic coastal superstitions about isolation and the unseen. This connection roots the modern horror in an ancient, eerie tradition. Mirrors and reflections serve as recurring motifs loaded with symbolism. Chloe's broken mirror image early in the film is a powerful visual cue signaling fractured identity and innocence lost. Mirrors later appear in less obvious ways. The gleam on a rain-soaked window, a reflection caught fleetingly in a rearview mirror, the warped image in a cracked phone screen. These visual echoes reinforce themes of duality. The outward faces the characters present versus the haunted selves they conceal. This motif culminates powerfully in the final scene where Evelyn's mask falls away, revealing a face ravaged not only by rage but by deep grief and vulnerability. The unmasking is a moment of painful truth that strips away illusion. The film's sound design further deepens the atmosphere with subtle but effective details. Natural sounds like rain dripping on leaves or footsteps echoing on wooden floors are interspersed with barely audible whispers and heartbeat rhythms, especially during tense or emotional scenes. For example, the diner scene where Chloe breaks down emotionally is underscored by a slow, pulsing heartbeat layered beneath the score, subliminally connecting viewers to her visceral fear and despair. These auditory textures heighten immersion, making moments linger in the subconscious even after the visuals fade. A fascinating recurring symbol is the killer's hook, which on the surface is a classic slasher icon. But here it carries multiple layers of meaning. It starts as a humble fishing tool, firmly rooted in the town's maritime culture, before evolving into an instrument of vengeance and justice. The shape of the hook recurs in smaller, almost subliminal ways. The curve of a seashell Maya finds, the arc of a door handle, even the curl of a necklace chain worn by Chloe. This subtle visual motif suggests inescapable cycles of guilt, punishment, and fate that spiral relentlessly forward, echoing the characters' trapped destinies. There are also personal touches from the actors that seep into the film's textures. Madelyn Cline's own childhood summers by the sea inspired the inclusion of Maya's seashell collection, a quiet but poignant detail that anchors her character in a believable, lived reality. This sense of authenticity deepens the emotional stakes, making her struggles resonate more profoundly. Modern technology and social media feature as more than mere plot devices. They're woven thematically into the story's exploration of exposure, identity, and isolation. The fragmented text messages, viral videos, and anonymous posts reflect the characters' fractured communication and amplify their fears in a way that feels uniquely contemporary. When Maya's online presence begins to disappear, it's symbolic of erasure, not just from public view but from personal identity and memory, raising poignant questions about how trauma affects one's sense of self. Supporting characters also bear hidden significance. Ray, Julie's quiet partner, seems almost a spectral figure, his silence laden with sorrow and survivor's guilt. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s restrained performance makes Ray a subtle emotional anchor amid chaos. His distant watching, small gestures, and reluctance to discuss the past hint at burdens heavier than words can carry, reminding the audience that trauma's ripple effects extend beyond the central cast. Set design itself is a trove of storytelling. The peeling wallpaper in Liam's childhood home mirrors his internal decay and emotional unraveling. The photographs in the local diner, showing happy families from long ago, contrast poignantly with the present-day fractures in relationships and trust. The cracked windshield on Alex's car after the initial accident echoes the damaged bond among friends, underscoring how a single moment can shatter many lives. More than just clever nods, the film's thematic heart beats in its nuanced treatment of trauma and accountability. Julie's admonishments about honesty aren't just moralizing. They're calls for real-world reckoning that resonate deeply in an era grappling with silence around pain. The killer, driven by grief and loss, is portrayed with a complexity that challenges black and white morality. This invites viewers to reflect on the thin line between victim and villain, and on how pain can twist into vengeance. Finally, the closing scene offers a subtle but profound visual Easter egg. As the characters cast candles into the sea, their flickering flames are reflected in their eyes, creating tiny points of light that resemble stars. This imagery ties back to the lighthouse beacon from the opening, symbolizing hope, remembrance, and the persistence of truth despite darkness. It's a poetic bookend that leaves viewers with a lingering sense of both closure and ongoing possibility. Diving into the making of I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, is like stepping into a stormy sea of creativity, tension, and unexpected twists, much like the movie itself. From the very beginning, the production was marked by a mix of ambition and challenge, as the filmmakers sought to honor the legacy of a beloved classic while updating it for a new generation. What emerged from this blend is a film shaped not just by script and camera, but by the personalities, accidents, and decisions behind the scenes that infused the project with its own kind of drama. One of the most striking stories from early production centers around the choice of filming locations. The coastal town of Collingsport, with its fog-drenched cliffs and weather-beaten docks, was largely created on a sprawling soundstage, designed to mimic the haunting beauty of New England's shoreline. This decision was driven by both artistic and practical reasons. Real coastal weather proved wildly unpredictable, with storms, fog, and biting cold causing frequent delays. The crew jokingly nicknamed the soundstage the Fog Chamber, as they worked long hours under artificial mist machines, trying to capture just the right ethereal quality that the real ocean sometimes obscured. Yet, the fog itself became a character in the film, lending an otherworldly texture that many felt couldn't have been replicated on location. The artificial fog was both a blessing and a curse. While it created stunning visuals, it also wreaked havoc on lighting and camera equipment. Cinematographer Lena Ortega, who brought a distinct visual style to the film, recalls days spent recalibrating lenses and adjusting exposure to compensate for the haze. "Fog is beautiful but tricky," she says. "It absorbs light and shifts color balance, so every shot had to be meticulously planned. We wanted the mist to feel alive, almost breathing with the character's fear." This intense focus on atmosphere contributed to some of the film's most memorable scenes, including the tense pier confrontations where visibility was barely a few feet. Behind the camera, director Michael Shaw was known for pushing his cast to explore emotional depths rarely seen in the slasher genre. His approach was rooted in psychological realism, which led to some intense rehearsals and unexpected breakthroughs. Madelyn Cline, who plays Maya, recounts a rehearsal where Shaw asked her to relive a personal moment of loss to fuel her character's vulnerability. "It was tough but transformative," she says. "He wanted raw honesty, not just scares. That's why the film feels so real." This commitment to emotional truth helped elevate performances beyond genre cliches, giving the characters an authentic, relatable humanity. Casting itself had its share of surprises. The role of Julie James was initially offered to another actress known for her work in television dramas. However, scheduling conflicts led producers to consider Jenna Ortega, whose rising star status and nuanced acting style brought fresh energy to the character. Ortega's preparation for the role was immersive. She spent weeks studying original script drafts, watching the 1997 film, and even visiting coastal towns to absorb the setting's mood. Her transformation was so convincing that many crew members initially mistook her for a local during early location shoots, underscoring her commitment to inhabiting the role fully. One of the most unusual production challenges came during the filming of the killer's scenes. The masked assailant was portrayed by stunt performer and choreographer Alex Romero, whose background in movement helped craft the killer's eerie physicality. Romero developed a signature walk, an unsettling blend of deliberate slowness and sudden, jerky motions, designed to unnerve both characters and viewers. Achieving this required hours of rehearsal, and Romero often performed his sequences barefoot to ground himself in the physicality of the role. On one occasion, his intense focus led to a minor onset injury when he slipped on a wet dock during a chase scene, forcing a brief halt to filming. This accident, though painful, was quickly woven into the production lore as a testament to Romero's dedication. In keeping with the film's emphasis on realism, practical effects were prioritized over CGI. This led to some ingenious solutions on set. For example, the iconic hook weapon was crafted from lightweight materials to ensure the actor's safety, but painted and aged so convincingly that it looked genuinely menacing on camera. The effects team also created custom rigs to simulate blood splatter and impact wounds, blending artistry with technical precision. Lead actress Chloe Bennett recalls how these effects added a visceral layer to performances. When you see the blood on your skin or clothes, it changes how you move and react. It's not acting anymore. It's feeling. The makeup department faced its own creative hurdles, especially with the killer's mask and the progressive injuries characters sustained. Mask designer Carla Mendez aimed to craft a piece that balanced familiarity with a fresh edge. She sourced vintage leather and weathered metal components, combining them to create a mask that looked both aged and sinister, as if it had been passed down through generations of vengeance. The mask's design includes subtle asymmetries, a slightly crooked eye hole, scratches that resemble claw marks, that weren't accidental but intentionally made to unsettle viewers on a subconscious level. These tiny details became fan favorites once discovered in close-up shots. Not all behind-the-scenes moments were smooth sailing, however. The production faced a significant challenge during the stormy finale sequences. Originally scheduled for an outdoor shoot on a rocky coastline, the crew was met with an unexpected hurricane warning just days before filming. The resulting logistical scramble forced. From the very opening sequences of I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, the film grabs viewers with an immediacy that resonates far beyond simple shock value. The opening scene, with its hauntingly quiet coastal setting abruptly shattered by a violent accident, is not just a thrilling hook, but a thematic gateway. This moment introduces the core tension, guilt, secrecy, and the consequences of choices made in fear. The accident's chilling ambiguity, captured through a blend of dim lighting and fractured camera angles, invites the audience to step into the character's psyche, sensing both the immediate danger and the emotional wreckage to come. This opening strikes a delicate balance between suspense and empathy, setting the tone for a film that seeks to probe beneath genre surface thrills. As the narrative unfolds, one of the most emotionally charged scenes arrives early in the film during the friends' first confrontation about the accident. This gathering, steeped in whispered accusations and fraught glances, lays bare the fractured lines in their relationships. What makes this scene special is the raw honesty in the performances, each actor embodying their character's conflicting desires for forgiveness and denial. The tight framing and dim, claustrophobic lighting reinforce the suffocating nature of guilt. The scene's emotional depth resonates because it reflects universal human fears: the dread of being caught, the pull of loyalty, and the painful burden of shared secrets. Viewers have often remarked that this sequence transcends horror cliches, feeling like a study in human frailty rather than mere setup for terror. Another pivotal moment, rich with thematic significance, is the discovery of the first ominous note from the killer. Unlike many horror films where threats are overt and sensationalized, here the note is subtle, a folded slip of paper, nearly missed if not examined closely. This quietness magnifies its menace. The note acts as a catalyst, transforming abstract fear into concrete danger, and symbolizing the inescapability of the past. The writing scrawled, imperfect style adds a layer of personal vendetta, making the threat feel intimate rather than generic. Critics and fans alike have praised this moment for its blend of psychological tension and narrative economy, encapsulating the film's strength in using small details to generate dread. Visually, the film's use of the fog during these threatening encounters enhances the emotional impact. In one standout scene where Maya faces the killer on the misty pier, The fog not only obscures the environment but mirrors her internal confusion and vulnerability. The interplay of shadow and light here is masterful. Viewers experience her isolation almost physically, as if they too are trapped in the suffocating haze. This scene's choreography and sound design, breathless gasps, the slap of waves, footsteps swallowed by mist, heightened suspense while deepening empathy for Maya. Audience reactions often highlight this as a defining moment where the film transcends simple chase sequences, instead becoming a meditation on fear itself. The film's climactic confrontation between Julie and Evelyn stands out as a centerpiece of emotional and thematic weight. Their conflict, rooted in betrayal and grief, is choreographed not just through physical action but through charged dialogue and piercing glances. The fight unfolds like a tragic dance, a release of years of pent-up pain and resentment. What makes this moment unforgettable is how the director frames their struggle as more than survival. It's a catharsis of guilt and vengeance intertwined. The raw performances, especially Ortega's nuanced portrayal of Julie's desperation and sorrow, elevate this scene to a powerful exploration of how trauma fractures and reshapes identity. Audience responses have often noted this as the film's emotional high point, where horror meets profound human drama. Symbolism throughout the film reaches a crescendo in the final act. The recurring motif of the lighthouse beacon reappears during the resolution, bathing the concluding scenes in flickering light. This beacon, initially a symbol of warning and guidance, takes on a deeper meaning, representing the possibility of redemption and illumination after darkness. The choice to end the film with the characters casting candles into the sea reinforces this theme of remembrance and hope. Critics have highlighted this ending for its poetic resonance, contrasting with the more nihilistic conclusions typical of the genre, leaving viewers with a sense of bittersweet closure rather than pure despair. Another crucial element shaping the overall experience is the film's pacing, which artfully balances suspense with character development. Key moments aren't rushed. Instead, they unfold with deliberate rhythm, allowing tension to build naturally. For example, the slow unraveling of friendships juxtaposed with sudden bursts of violence creates a dynamic emotional roller coaster. This ebb and flow keep audiences deeply engaged, reflecting the unpredictable nature of trauma itself. Many viewers have remarked on how this pacing fosters a genuine connection to the characters, making the horror hit harder because it feels earned. Sound design is a subtle yet powerful force in shaping key moments. The use of silence, punctuated by sharp noises, like a creaking floorboard or a distant scream, heightens suspense in ways that linger long after the film ends. In particular, the scene where Alex hears footsteps behind him in an abandoned warehouse uses ambient sound masterfully. The barely audible drip of water, combined with muffled breathing and a faint metallic scrape, creates an atmosphere thick with dread. This attention to auditory detail not only intensifies scares, but also immerses viewers fully, making moments visceral and unforgettable. Performance-wise, the chemistry among the core cast amplifies the emotional stakes of critical scenes. The tension between Chloe Bennett's Maya and Jenna Ortega's Julie crackles in every shared frame, their nuanced interplay capturing the complexity of friendship tested by betrayal. This dynamic reaches its peak in moments of confrontation and reconciliation, where subtle shifts in expression speak volumes. The supporting cast also enriches the narrative fabric. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s portrayal of Ray, for example, adds layers of quiet sorrow and moral ambiguity that deepen the story's psychological texture. Audience reactions to these key moments have been telling of the film's impact. Social media buzz and fan discussions often focus on scenes that combine shock with emotional resonance, praising the filmmakers for crafting moments that stay with viewers long after the credits roll. The film's success in eliciting empathy alongside fear challenges conventional expectations of the horror genre, inviting a broader reflection on guilt, consequence, and forgiveness. In the end, the interplay of thematic depth, emotional authenticity, and technical mastery in these key moments forms the backbone of I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025. Each impactful scene is a thread woven into a larger narrative fabric that explores not just terror, but the human heart under duress. This nuanced approach shapes an experience that is thrilling, thought-provoking, and deeply affecting, one that invites repeated viewings and ongoing conversations. From the earliest days of pre-production, I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 was envisioned as more than just a retread of a classic slasher. The filmmakers sought to push boundaries, blending traditional horror with a modern cinematic language that would immerse audiences in the film's chilling atmosphere while deepening its emotional resonance. Achieving this meant breaking new ground technically and creatively, a journey that unfolded through inventive problem-solving, inspired artistry, and unexpected challenges. One of the most remarkable aspects of the production was the innovative use of lighting to convey mood and character psychology. Unlike conventional horror films that often rely on stark shadows and sudden flashes, director Michael Shaw and cinematographer Lena Ortega crafted a visual palette rich in subtlety. They experimented with layered, colored gels and diffused lighting to create a dreamlike quality in scenes that balanced beauty and menace. For example, twilight scenes near the water's edge were bathed in soft blues and purples, evoking both calm and unease. This approach wasn't just aesthetic, it became a storytelling device, with light shifting alongside the characters' emotional journeys, drawing viewers into their internal worlds. Behind the scenes, achieving this lighting effect required a delicate dance with natural elements and studio technology. Ortega recalls how the crew balanced the artificial with the authentic, sometimes blending real sunset light with carefully positioned LED panels. The lighting rigs themselves were custom-built to allow for swift changes in color temperature and intensity, enabling on-the-fly adjustments that preserved the film's visual coherence. These innovations allowed the film to capture fleeting moods, the kind that linger between day and night, safety and danger, making every frame feel alive with tension. The film's sound design is another quietly groundbreaking element. Rather than relying on the typical jump-scare cues and loud crashes, sound editor Malik Thompson crafted a soundscape that plays with absence and suggestion. In the film, silence is a powerful tool. Moments when all noise fades become charged with anticipation. Thompson layered ambient sounds, like the distant crash of waves, creaking wood, or a subtle heartbeat rhythm, to draw the audience into a sensory experience that mirrors the character's fear and isolation. The result is a sound design that feels both intimate and expansive, enveloping viewers in the film's unsettling world without overwhelming them. Technically, recording and mixing this complex audio landscape posed challenges. The team developed a unique system using binaural microphones in select scenes to simulate human hearing, creating an immersive, 3D audio effect that places viewers right beside the characters. This technique was especially effective in chase sequences and whispered confrontations, heightening suspense without resorting to traditional horror tropes. The commitment to sonic subtlety helped set the film apart in a genre often dominated by noise and spectacle. The production also embraced cutting-edge camera technology to support the film's immersive style. The team used a combination of lightweight digital cinema cameras and custom rigs, including drone-mounted units and stabilized handheld systems. These tools allowed for fluid, intimate shots that follow characters closely, capturing nuances in performance and environment. One memorable sequence involved a long, continuous tracking shot through a dense fog bank on the pier, accomplished by mounting a camera on a crane attached to a moving boat. Coordinating this shot required precision timing, careful weather monitoring, and a crew adept at working in challenging conditions. The resulting scene feels almost hypnotic, drawing viewers into a world where boundaries between safety and threat blur. Beyond technology, the filmmakers were keenly aware of how production design could enrich the narrative. The coastal town setting, part reality, part constructed, was meticulously crafted to feel both familiar and uncanny. Production designer Elena Voss assembled a team that scoured antique markets, salvage yards, and local shops for authentic period props and architectural details that suggest a community haunted by its past. Many set pieces, such as weathered signs, rusted fishing gear, and worn-down houses, were chosen not only for their visual texture, but also for the stories they silently told. These layers of detail invited viewers to explore the environment as a character in its own right, steeped in history and mystery. One of the production's most inventive moments came with the creation of the killer's signature mask and costume. Mask designer Carla Mendez drew inspiration from maritime folklore and weather-beaten materials, blending leather, corroded metal, and fabric fragments into a piece that looked both ancient and personalized. The design process involved 3D scanning and printing techniques to prototype shapes, combined with traditional handcrafting to add texture and authenticity. The mask's subtle imperfections, small dents, uneven stitching, faint rust spots, were deliberate, giving it a haunting sense of lived-in history. This hybrid approach bridged the gap between modern technology and artisanal craft, creating an iconic look that stands out in the slasher genre. In terms of narrative innovation, the film's use of nonlinear storytelling and fragmented perspectives was supported by creative editing choices. Editor Simone Kim employed a layered approach, weaving flashbacks and present-day scenes seamlessly to reflect the characters' fractured memories and escalating paranoia. Rather than presenting events in a straightforward timeline, the film invites viewers to piece together clues, creating an active viewing experience. This narrative rhythm is complemented by rhythmic cuts that build tension organically rather than through abrupt jolts, a technique praised by critics for elevating suspense without sacrificing clarity. Behind the scenes, these editorial choices sparked lively collaboration. Shaw and Kim experimented with multiple versions of key scenes, testing different pacing and orderings to find the right emotional beats. One particular challenge was balancing the reveal of the killer's identity with maintaining mystery. The team used subtle visual cues and carefully timed shots to hint at possibilities without spoiling twists. This delicate editing work enhanced the film's psychological depth, encouraging repeat viewings and discussions among fans eager to catch every nuance. Special effects in I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, leaned heavily on practical methods, a deliberate choice that gave the film a tactile realism often missing in CGI-heavy horror. The effects team, led by veteran artist Marco Reyes, created detailed prosthetics and animatronics to simulate injuries, environmental hazards, and creature effects. For instance, the infamous hook weapon was rigged with sensors to safely interact with actors, while concealed pneumatic systems allowed it to move with unsettling, lifelike motion during fight scenes. These practical effects demanded intricate coordination between stunt performers, makeup artists, and camera operators, making action sequences feel visceral and immediate. One particularly memorable stunt involved a nighttime leap from a cliff into the ocean. Performed by stunt coordinator Dana Liu, the sequence was rehearsed extensively to ensure safety while capturing genuine risk and emotion. Liu's team built underwater rigs and lighting setups to allow for clear, cinematic shots beneath the waves, blending natural environment with controlled effects. This scene encapsulates the production's commitment to blending spectacle with story, every technical choice serving the narrative's emotional truth. Despite these innovations, the production was not without hurdles. Unpredictable weather during the summer shoot led to several schedule revisions, forcing creative solutions. When heavy rains threatened to delay a key scene on the town's main street, the art department rapidly constructed covered sets and used rain machines to maintain continuity. These quick pivots demonstrate the crew's adaptability and dedication, qualities that shine through in the film's polished final form. Collaborations between departments were essential to navigating these challenges. For example, the sound and visual effects teams worked closely to ensure that scenes involving fog and rain didn't compromise audio clarity. This synergy extended to costume and makeup, where materials were selected to withstand wet conditions while retaining their intended look on camera. These cross-disciplinary efforts contributed to a cohesive cinematic world that feels immersive and believable. Looking beyond production, the film's post-production workflow also showcased technical prowess. Visual effects supervisor Hannah Lee integrated subtle digital enhancements that augmented, but never overwhelmed, the practical effects. These included refining atmospheric elements like drifting mist or faint glimmers of light to heighten mood. Lee's team used advanced compositing software to seamlessly blend these layers, preserving the film's organic feel. This restrained use of CGI was widely praised for supporting rather than distracting from the story. Music composition by Oliver Grant added a final layer of innovation. Grant eschewed traditional orchestral scores in favor of a hybrid sound combining electronic textures with natural sounds recorded on location. This score weaves seamlessly with the sound design, reinforcing the film's themes of nature's power and human fragility. The music's ebb and flow mirror the characters' emotional arcs, enhancing key moments without overpowering dialogue or action. In sum, the making of I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, is a testament to how technical innovation and creative vision can merge to elevate genre filmmaking. Every aspect, from lighting and sound to editing and effects, was crafted with intention, resulting in a film that feels both fresh and timeless. The production's behind-the-scenes stories reveal a team deeply committed to pushing boundaries, embracing challenges, and telling a story that resonates on multiple levels. At its core, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, is far more than a conventional horror thriller. It's a meditation on guilt, identity, and the consequences of silence. From the very moment the characters decide to conceal their involvement in the tragic accident, the film sets up a rich tapestry of themes that ripple throughout the narrative, challenging viewers to look beyond surface scares and into the messy human emotions that drive our actions. One of the film's most powerful themes is the weight of guilt and how it shapes the psyche. The character's decision to hide the truth is not just a plot device. It becomes a lens through which the story examines the corrosive effects of unspoken remorse. Each character carries their guilt differently, revealing how personal conscience and social pressures intersect. Julie's restless nightmares, Evelyn's withdrawal, and Ray's quiet desperation all showcase the many faces of internal torment. The film cleverly uses visual motifs, like recurring water imagery and fractured reflections, to symbolize this fractured mental state, highlighting how guilt distorts perception and reality. This thematic thread resonates deeply, reflecting the universal experience of carrying burdens that isolate and transform us. Silence itself emerges as a crucial symbolic element. Throughout the film, quiet moments, whether a hushed conversation, a tense stare, or an empty, fog-filled landscape, speak volumes. The character's silence about the accident parallels the cultural tendency to suppress uncomfortable truths for the sake of social harmony or self-preservation. This theme extends to the community around them, where rumors and unspoken suspicions circulate like a toxic undercurrent. The film thus critiques the dangers of collective denial, suggesting that silence can become complicity. The use of silence also amplifies tension, making the absence of sound a character in its own right, one that isolates, warns, and ultimately demands confrontation. The motif of water, particularly the ocean and the fog-shrouded coastline, carries profound symbolic weight. Water in the film embodies dual meanings. It is at once cleansing and destructive, a source of life and death. The accident itself happens near the water's edge, positioning the ocean as a metaphor for the boundary between safety and peril, truth and concealment. Fog, swirling and obscuring vision, represents confusion and the murky moral territory the characters navigate. The film's repeated focus on these natural elements anchors its psychological drama in a tangible, elemental world, reminding viewers that human conflicts are inseparable from the environments they unfold within. Identity and transformation are equally vital themes, explored through the characters' evolving relationships and personal journeys. The film probes how trauma can fracture a person's sense of self, forcing them to confront uncomfortable truths and reshape who they are. Julie's arc is especially poignant. Her quest to face the past and seek redemption contrasts with Evelyn's descent into paranoia and blame. This dynamic tension illustrates the complexity of human resilience and the diverse ways people cope with pain. The killer's ambiguous identity further underscores this theme, blurring lines between victim and perpetrator, self and other. In this way, the film invites reflection on how identity is constructed and contested in moments of crisis. Beneath these personal themes, the film also offers sharp social commentary on accountability and justice. It critiques systems that encourage cover-ups and silence rather than truth and healing. The Friends' pact to hide their involvement symbolizes broader societal patterns where wrongdoing is concealed to protect reputation or avoid repercussions. This aspect of the narrative mirrors contemporary conversations about transparency, moral responsibility, and the consequences of evasion. The film's setting, a small, insular town, further highlights how social dynamics, gossip, and power structures influence individual behavior. By embedding these issues within a horror framework, the film makes a compelling statement about the costs of evading justice and the necessity of confronting uncomfortable realities. The film's symbolism extends to recurring imagery related to light and darkness. The interplay of shadows and illumination serves as a metaphor for knowledge and ignorance, good and evil. Scenes where characters move between dimly lit rooms or step into blinding sunlight visually represent moments of revelation or denial. The lighthouse beacon, appearing at critical junctures, symbolizes hope, guidance, and the possibility of redemption. Its flickering light cuts through the darkness, suggesting that even in the most troubling times, truth can shine through. This symbolism enriches the narrative's emotional resonance, reinforcing the film's underlying message about confronting one's demons to find peace. Another subtle but powerful symbolic layer lies in the use of objects, most notably the hook. Far from a simple weapon, the hook embodies the inescapable reach of the past. Its sharpness and cold metal texture evoke pain and permanence, a reminder that actions leave marks that cannot easily be erased. The hook's recurring presence serves as a physical manifestation of guilt and vengeance, binding characters to their shared secret and the consequences that follow. This symbol operates on multiple levels, both as a classic horror trope and as a deeply meaningful narrative device. Moreover, the film's engagement with memory and trauma is intricately woven into its storytelling style. Flashbacks and fragmented narratives mimic the characters' struggles to piece together their past while grappling with denial. This structural choice mirrors psychological processes, making the audience experience the confusion and pain alongside the protagonists. The film's pacing and visual cues emphasize how trauma distorts time and perception, blurring the lines between past and present, reality and nightmare. This approach deepens the film's thematic exploration, making it not just a story of survival but a nuanced portrayal of healing, or the failure thereof. On a broader cultural level, the film reflects anxieties about the fragility of trust in contemporary society. In an era marked by scandals, misinformation, and fractured communities, I Know What You Did Last Summer resonates as a cautionary tale about the consequences of broken bonds. The Friends' disintegration serves as a microcosm for societal divides, illustrating how fear and secrecy corrode relationships and communal fabric. The film's focus on young adults navigating this terrain speaks to generational tensions around truth, loyalty, and accountability. It subtly critiques the pressures to conform and conceal, encouraging a more honest and compassionate engagement with difficult realities. Environmental themes also subtly permeate the narrative. The coastal setting, with its looming cliffs and restless sea, acts as a reminder of nature's indifferent power and the human tendency to both revere and fear it. Scenes that linger on crashing waves or shifting tides evoke a sense of inevitability, suggesting that human actions, like natural forces, have consequences beyond immediate control. This connection enriches the film's atmosphere and thematic depth, linking personal guilt to a larger ecological metaphor about cycles, renewal, and destruction. The film's portrayal of female characters and their dynamics further adds layers of social commentary. Unlike many genre entries that rely on stereotypes, I Know What You Did Last Summer offers complex portrayals of women grappling with trauma, agency, and survival. The evolving relationship between Julie and Evelyn highlights themes of friendship, rivalry, and reconciliation, challenging simplistic notions of female rivalry often portrayed in media. Their interactions reveal how trauma can fracture, but also potentially strengthen bonds, reflecting real-world experiences of solidarity and conflict. This nuanced representation enriches the film's emotional core and broadens its cultural relevance. Finally, the film's ending invites reflection on forgiveness and redemption, themes that resonate deeply in today's cultural conversations. By choosing to close with a moment of tentative reconciliation and symbolic release, casting candles into the sea, the narrative suggests that healing is possible but requires courage and honesty. This hopeful note balances the darker themes of guilt and violence, offering viewers a sense of closure that feels earned rather than forced. It underscores the film's ultimate message, that confronting the past, no matter how painful, is essential to reclaiming agency and moving forward. From the very first frame, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, announces itself as a visual and auditory experience crafted with meticulous care, inviting viewers not just to watch a story unfold, but to feel it through a masterful blend of cinematography, editing, sound design, and music. The director's vision pulses through every choice, creating a haunting atmosphere that lingers long after the credits roll. The film's visual style is characterized by its painterly use of light and shadow, creating an almost tactile world that teeters between beauty and menace. Cinematographer Lina Ortega employed a palette that favors muted, natural tones punctuated by strategic bursts of color to emphasize emotional beats. Early scenes bathed in the soft glow of dawn or twilight offer a deceptive calm, underscoring the character's fragile sense of normalcy. Ortega's camera work favors intimacy, often framing characters in close-ups that capture fleeting expressions, glances laden with fear, guilt, or resolve. This technique invites the audience into the characters' inner lives, making their struggles palpably real. One of the most compelling visual devices is the frequent use of reflective surfaces, mirrors, water, and shattered glass, to symbolize fractured identities and hidden truths. These reflections are never mere background. They interact dynamically with the characters, sometimes distorting their images, other times revealing what lies beneath the surface. In pivotal moments, the camera lingers on these reflections, inviting viewers to question what is real versus what is perceived. This visual metaphor enriches the narrative, reminding us that the past, like a reflection, can be both present and elusive. Editing by Simone Kim further amplifies the film's psychological tension. Rather than relying on abrupt cuts common in horror, Kim opts for fluid transitions that weave past and present. Flashbacks are integrated seamlessly, sometimes bleeding into present-day scenes with dissolves or layered imagery, mirroring the characters' tangled memories and emotional confusion. This editing style slows the pace just enough to build suspense organically, allowing moments to breathe and unease to simmer. The rhythm fluctuates skillfully, from languid, contemplative scenes to brisk, jarring sequences, guiding the viewer's emotional journey with precision. The sound design is an integral part of this sensory immersion. Sound editor Malik Thompson crafts an aural landscape where silence speaks as loudly as sound. Background noises like the distant crash of waves, rustling leaves, or the faint creak of old would create an ambient tension that grounds scenes in a palpable reality. When moments of silence descend, they carry weight, marking turning points or signaling unseen threats. The film's subtle layering of diegetic and non-diegetic sounds blurs the line between the character's experience and the viewer's perception, heightening empathy and suspense. Complementing this, Oliver Grant's musical score blends organic and electronic elements, echoing the film's themes of nature and fractured identity. The music shifts deftly between haunting melodies and dissonant tones, sometimes rising to a crescendo in moments of terror, other times retreating into minimalistic patterns that evoke introspection. This nuanced score never overwhelms. Instead, it underscores emotional undertones, deepening the impact of key scenes and echoing the characters' psychological states. Stylistically, the director's choice to shoot many scenes handheld adds a layer of immediacy and intimacy. This approach immerses the audience in the character's volatile world, the slight shakiness reflecting their instability and the ever-present threat lurking nearby. This fluid camera work contrasts with more static, composed shots of the town's landscape, where wide angles establish a sense of isolation and vulnerability. The juxtaposition of these visual styles reinforces the film's thematic tension between the familiar and the threatening. Color grading also plays a crucial role. The palette shifts as the story unfolds. Warmer hues during moments of camaraderie and memory contrast starkly with cold, desaturated tones during scenes of confrontation or fear. This visual shift subtly signals changes in mood and stakes without relying on explicit exposition. The director's use of color thus becomes a storytelling tool, guiding emotional responses in ways that feel intuitive yet sophisticated. The film's mise-en-scene is densely packed with symbolic details that reward close observation. Props, costumes, and set design all contribute to the narrative fabric. For example, The recurring motif of the lighthouse, its stark white structure against the darkening sky, serves as both a beacon of hope and a silent witness to past misdeeds. Similarly, costume choices reflect character evolution. As guilt and paranoia intensify, clothing becomes progressively disheveled or darker, mirroring internal decay. These carefully curated visual cues enrich the storytelling, allowing the audience to read layers of meaning beneath the surface action. Lighting design is particularly noteworthy for its subtlety and emotional resonance. Instead of relying on harsh horror lighting, Ortega and the lighting team use soft, directional light to sculpt faces and environments. The play of light and shadow conveys mood shifts and character emotions with nuance. Scenes bathed in warm candlelight evoke moments of vulnerability and connection, while cold, stark lighting underscores isolation or menace. The interplay of natural and artificial light further blurs reality and memory, reinforcing the film's psychological complexity. The film also leverages spatial relationships to enhance tension. Constricted, claustrophobic interiors contrast with expansive, open exteriors, symbolizing the characters' fluctuating states of entrapment and exposure. Camera angles emphasize these contrasts. Tight shots in confined spaces generate anxiety, while wide shots of the empty coastline evoke loneliness and foreboding. This spatial choreography supports the narrative's emotional highs and lows, making the environment an active participant in the story. Sound editing and mixing deserve special mention for their innovative techniques. The use of binaural audio technology creates an immersive three-dimensional soundscape that enhances suspense. For instance, during chase sequences or moments of confrontation, subtle directional sounds make the audience feel physically present, as if they're moving alongside characters or sensing unseen dangers creeping closer. This sensory layering deepens engagement, transforming passive viewing into an experiential journey. Unique to the film is its use of silence as a narrative punctuation mark. Extended pauses devoid of music or sound effects allow tension to build organically, encouraging viewers to anticipate and imagine threats. This technique underscores the film's psychological focus, emphasizing internal dread over external spectacle. When sounds return, whether a creak, whisper, or sudden shout, they hit with amplified impact, jolting the audience while reinforcing narrative stakes. The director's signature stylistic touch can also be seen in the film's thematic visual motifs, such as recurring imagery of thresholds and borders. Doors, windows, and shorelines function as metaphors for transitions between innocence and guilt, ignorance and awareness, life and death. The camera often lingers on these liminal spaces, inviting reflection on the characters' choices and the precarious nature of their existence. This visual strategy elevates the film beyond genre conventions, infusing it with poetic symbolism. Moreover, the film's pacing and structure contribute to its distinct style. The narrative unfolds deliberately, balancing moments of quiet character development with bursts of suspense and action. This rhythm allows tension to accumulate gradually, giving weight to climactic scenes and emotional confrontations. The editor's seamless blending of temporal shifts, flashbacks woven naturally into the present, mirrors the character's psychological fragmentation, making the audience participants in unraveling the mystery. Visually, the filmmakers also embraced naturalistic effects, resisting the temptation to rely heavily on CGI. Practical effects, combined with in-camera techniques, lend a grounded realism to supernatural elements and violent encounters. This choice enhances the visceral impact of scenes and maintains audience immersion, avoiding the detachment often caused by overt digital manipulation. In sum, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, stands out for its sophisticated cinematic techniques that intertwine with its storytelling. Every frame, sound, and cut serves a purpose, whether to deepen character psychology, amplify mood, or underscore thematic concerns. The director's vision manifests through a harmonious blend of visual poetry and technical mastery, crafting a film that is as emotionally resonant as it is thrilling. This cinematic artistry invites viewers not just to witness the story, but to inhabit its haunting world fully, making the experience unforgettable. When we look back at I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, It's clear this film did more than just add another entry to the horror thriller canon. It redefined the landscape of modern suspense storytelling, leaving an indelible mark that continues to ripple through pop culture and cinema alike. Emerging at a time when audiences craved fresh voices and deeper emotional stakes in genre films, this movie became a touchstone for what horror could achieve when it dared to fuse psychological complexity with visceral thrills. Its influence on the genre is profound and multifaceted. Filmmakers and critics often point to How I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, revitalized the classic slasher framework by injecting it with layered character development, atmospheric tension, and nuanced themes. The film's refusal to rely solely on jump scares or gore, favoring instead a slow-building dread rooted in the character's inner turmoil, set a new bar for storytelling that others would strive to emulate. This shift inspired a wave of films that prioritized psychological depth alongside traditional horror elements, leading to a renaissance in genre filmmaking that blended suspense with meaningful human drama. Beyond the genre itself, the movie's stylistic and technical achievements influenced filmmaking approaches broadly. Its innovative use of natural light, immersive soundscapes, and seamless editing demonstrated how technical artistry could serve narrative and emotional resonance simultaneously. Cinematographers and editors cited it as a benchmark in achieving mood and pacing that engage audiences on both intellectual and visceral levels. Its success encouraged directors to experiment with more atmospheric, character-driven horror, pushing the boundaries of what suspense cinema could communicate. In the realm of popular culture, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, became a cultural phenomenon. The film's iconography, the haunting hook, the mist-shrouded coastline, the flickering lighthouse, entered the collective imagination, appearing in everything from fashion and music videos to Halloween costumes and social media memes. The movie sparked endless discussions, fan theories, and reinterpretations, solidifying its status as a modern classic. It also influenced other media forms, inspiring novels, graphic novels, and even immersive theater experiences that explored similar themes of guilt, secrecy, and survival. Its impact is also evident in how it reshaped audience expectations. Viewers came to appreciate horror not just as entertainment but as a vehicle for exploring real human emotions and social issues. The film's treatment of complex female characters and its subtle social commentary resonated especially with younger generations, who saw themselves reflected in its nuanced portrayals. This connection helped broaden the horror audience, making the genre more inclusive and culturally relevant. Awards and critical recognition followed, cementing the film's place in cinematic history. It garnered accolades not only in typical horror categories but also for screenplay, cinematography, and sound design, testament to its all-encompassing excellence. Film festivals and critics praised its bold vision and emotional depth, often highlighting it as a prime example of how genre films can be both artistically ambitious and widely accessible. These honors further elevated the movie's profile, encouraging scholarly study and deeper appreciation within film circles. Over time, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, has proven remarkably resilient, maintaining relevance even as trends in cinema evolve. Its exploration of timeless themes, guilt, identity, justice, combined with its innovative style, allows it to transcend the usual shelf life of horror films. New generations discover it, finding fresh meaning in its narrative and aesthetic layers. The movie's ability to speak to universal human experiences, while wrapped in a suspenseful, gripping story, ensures its enduring appeal. Perhaps most importantly, the film's legacy lies in its invitation to confront difficult truths. It challenges audiences to reflect on how silence and secrecy can corrode relationships and communities, a message as urgent now as ever. In an era marked by social upheaval and calls for accountability, the film's narrative feels remarkably prescient, offering a mirror to society's struggles with transparency and reconciliation. This social resonance elevates the film from mere entertainment to a cultural artifact that provokes thought and dialogue. In conclusion, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, stands as a landmark achievement, a film that not only thrills but also enriches, challenges, and inspires. Its influence on horror and cinema more broadly continues to unfold, shaping storytelling approaches and cultural conversations. More than just a movie, it's a living legacy. A haunting, beautiful, and enduring exploration of the shadows we carry and the courage it takes to face them. When we look back at I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, it's clear this film did more than just add another entry to the horror thriller canon. It redefined the landscape of modern suspense storytelling, leaving an indelible mark that continues to ripple through pop culture and cinema alike. Emerging at a time when audiences craved fresh voices and deeper emotional stakes in genre films, this movie became a touchstone for what horror could achieve when it dared to fuse psychological complexity with visceral thrills. Its influence on the genre is profound and multifaceted. Filmmakers and critics often point to how I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, revitalized the classic slasher framework by injecting it with layered character development, atmospheric tension, and nuanced themes. The film's refusal to rely solely on jump scares or gore, favoring instead a slow-building dread rooted in the character's inner turmoil, set a new bar for storytelling that others would strive to emulate. This shift inspired a wave of films that prioritized psychological depth alongside traditional horror elements, leading to a renaissance in genre filmmaking that blended suspense with meaningful human drama. Beyond the genre itself, the movie's stylistic and technical achievements influenced filmmaking approaches broadly. Its innovative use of natural light, immersive soundscapes, and seamless editing demonstrated how technical artistry could serve narrative and emotional resonance simultaneously. Cinematographers and editors cited it as a benchmark in achieving mood and pacing that engage audiences on both intellectual and visceral levels. Its success encouraged directors to experiment with more atmospheric, character-driven horror, pushing the boundaries of what suspense cinema could communicate. In the realm of popular culture, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, became a cultural phenomenon. The film's iconography, the haunting hook, the mist-shrouded coastline, the flickering lighthouse, entered the collective imagination, appearing in everything from fashion and music videos to Halloween costumes and social media memes. The movie sparked endless discussions, fan theories, and reinterpretations, solidifying its status as a modern classic. It also influenced other media forms, inspiring novels, graphic novels, and even immersive theater experiences that explored similar themes of guilt, secrecy, and survival. Its impact is also evident in how it reshaped audience expectations. Viewers came to appreciate horror not just as entertainment but as a vehicle for exploring real human emotions and social issues. The film's treatment of complex female characters and its subtle social commentary resonated especially with younger generations, who saw themselves reflected in its nuanced portrayals. This connection helped broaden the horror audience, making the genre more inclusive and culturally relevant. Awards and critical recognition followed, cementing the film's place in cinematic history. It garnered accolades not only in typical horror categories but also for screenplay, cinematography, and sound design, testament to its all-encompassing excellence. Film festivals and critics praised its bold vision and emotional depth, often highlighting it as a prime example of how genre films can be both artistically ambitious and widely accessible. These honors further elevated the movie's profile, encouraging scholarly study and deeper appreciation within film circles. Over time, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, has proven remarkably resilient, maintaining relevance even as trends in cinema evolve. Its exploration of timeless themes, guilt, identity, justice, combined with its innovative style, allows it to transcend the usual shelf life of horror films. New generations discover it, finding fresh meaning in its narrative and aesthetic layers. The movie's ability to speak to universal human experiences, while wrapped in a suspenseful, gripping story, ensures its enduring appeal. Perhaps most importantly, the film's legacy lies in its invitation to confront difficult truths. It challenges audiences to reflect on how silence and secrecy can corrode relationships and communities, a message as urgent now as ever. In an era marked by social upheaval and calls for accountability, the film's narrative feels remarkably prescient, offering a mirror to society's struggles with transparency and reconciliation. This social resonance elevates the film from mere entertainment to a cultural artifact that provokes thought and dialogue. In conclusion, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, stands as a landmark achievement, a film that not only thrills but also enriches, challenges, and inspires. Its influence on horror and cinema more broadly continues to unfold, shaping storytelling approaches and cultural conversations. More than just a movie, it's a living legacy, a haunting, beautiful, and enduring exploration of the shadows we carry and the courage it takes to face them. As we reach the end of this deep exploration into I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, it's impossible not to reflect on what makes this film such a remarkable entry in the world of suspense and horror. From its richly woven narrative and complex characters to its innovative cinematic techniques and resonant themes, the movie stands out as a masterclass in storytelling that transcends simple thrills. It captivates by weaving together layers of mystery, emotion, and symbolism, inviting viewers into a world that is as psychologically compelling as it is visually stunning. This film's power lies not only in its chilling atmosphere and heart-pounding moments, but in the careful attention to detail, from the subtle foreshadowing and symbolic imagery to the nuanced performances that bring each character's fears and secrets to life. It skillfully balances the tension of its plot with deeper reflections on guilt, identity, and the consequences of choices long buried beneath the surface. The seamless fusion of technical mastery and storytelling depth ensures that every scene is not just seen, but felt, drawing audiences into an immersive experience that lingers far beyond the final frame. Moreover, the film's cultural impact and legacy underline why it remains a significant work within its genre and beyond. It has inspired filmmakers, influenced popular culture, and expanded the conversation about what horror cinema can achieve when it dares to explore human complexity alongside suspense. Its continued relevance speaks to its enduring themes and the universal truths embedded in its narrative. Ultimately, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025, is much more than a movie. It's an invitation to look deeper, to question what lies beneath the surface, and to confront the shadows within and around us. It challenges us to remember that every secret has a cost, and every story, no matter how terrifying, deserves to be told. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together, uncovering the hidden layers, the artistry, and the stories that make film an unforgettable journey. Thank you for joining me on this cinematic adventure. Until next time, keep watching, keep wondering, and keep diving deep into the magic of movies.